I only got the thought to turn this trip into a video after it had already happened, so this video is a little scrappy. Look at this normal size plane and look at how small the plane was that we were taking. It was like a little jet. We had another layover in Germany and we realized that the connection flight was the same as Steve's, so we decided to surprise him by pretending to steal his stuff. Anyway, his stranger danger is 0 out of 10 because he literally let Lucy get away with stealing his bag. Like, look at this. 0 awareness. When we checked in, the receptionist told us that James and the madame were already checked into our rooms, which I thought was a particularly memorable way to talk about Ivy. Steve didn't join us that day for our dinner because he was really tired from traveling, so the rest of us went out and we found a place where the waiter was really nice. And at some point after we finished ordering, the waiter collected our menus and offhandedly asked James, like, hey, what kind of perfume do you buy? And James was kind of like, perfume? But it was actually a setup because without missing a beat, the waiter goes, yeah, how did you get 3 girls to follow you around? And then we all died laughing except for James, who was like, okay, I'm never going outside without Steve here ever again. And then when the waiter came back with our food, he made like a big show of opening James's napkin for him and like dabbing his cheeks while being like, oh, I gotta take care of my boy. The next day we went to see the Colosseum and Roman Forum. I'm not sure if it's obvious by our photos, but we were in Italy during a heat wave and we were all dying walking around in the sun all day. Eventually, we made a habit of going to see sights in the morning before heading back to the hotel and then going back out later when it was cooler. The exception to this rule was Rachel, who liked to wander the city during the afternoon, which is significant because the first time we went back to the hotel without Rachel, we saw a phone with a default background and an Italian service provider, so we assumed that it was maybe someone on room service who left the phone behind. So we took the phone down to the front desk and they looked more confused than anything to receive it, but we thought it was just miscommunication. Then, when Rachel came back, she rifled through her things for 5 minutes and was like, has anyone seen my work phone? And then we were like, oh no, we thought it was someone else's. And then she went down to the front desk to get her phone back, and by this time they were thoroughly confused, and I'm pretty sure they figured out that we're actually stupid. The fountain was probably the busiest place we went to at our trip. People were in lines just to take pictures with the fountain, but at some point we lost Rachel to a vendor selling coconut strips, so that's what she's holding in her hand. At one point at the Spanish Steps, it was just Ivy and me. There was a vendor selling chestnuts that Rachel went to observe, Lucy was bent down to tie her dress, Steve went to find somewhere to sit, and James was in front of this fountain standing in a line, and we weren't sure what he was doing, but then I made eye contact with him and he looked away as he stepped up to the fountain, took off his hat, and dunked his whole head in. So under his hat, his hair is completely soaked in these photos. Again, it was really hot, so the first thing Steve did when we entered the Vatican was to make some comment about forsakenness, which was pretty ironically theological. These photos are from the top of St. Peter's Basilica. However, they don't let you take pictures of the Sistine Chapel, which is where the creation of Adam is, so here's a replacement for your reference. In Pisa, we were peak tourists. I don't know what Steve and James are trying to do, but they assured me it was for a very ironic meme. Also, I feel like the inside of the Tower of Pisa doesn't get as much attention as it should. It's literally hollow, and I guess I always thought there was supposed to be stuff inside, but I was very confused. Oh, we also saw a crypto machine. James vented. What? In Venice, we got to row some gondolas ourselves, which Ivy's mom roasted us about. Here's a video of Steve being a king, and here's a video of Steve being a servant. When we were eating lunch, Ivy came up to us and was like, I ate 2 fried things and a cannoli for lunch, bye bye, and then left before we could make her eat real food. Favorite fun fact in Italy is in the Doge's palace, where all the Doges are listed with their important achievements except for one who threw a coup. He's been cancelled with black cloth since 1355. In my opinion, the best part of the trip was on the overnight train from Venice to Naples. We were supposed to sleep on that train to hike Pompeii later that day, but it was crowded with confused tourists, and Rachel and Ivy had to kick out a lady in their seat. A random dad was in James's seat because he wanted to be closer to his family. He offered James his seat, but when the train rolled into the next station, some other guy claimed to have that seat, so James ended up sitting on the floor for a while. Ivy and Rachel were ready to pick a fight with his family on James's behalf. At some point, the police appeared on the train. A baby started crying around 3 a.m. Never stopped. Some Chinese people asked me for directions. Lucy slept through the whole thing. It was glorious chaos. In Naples, we went on a tour of the underground aqueducts, which was a little creepy but impressive. Ivy got a big calamari for lunch, and the waitress laughed at my mess with the honk you get the bonk phone case, which was a second highlight. No. On our last day, we went to this restaurant with another waiter who was bent on making fun of James, even though Steve was there this time. For some reason, when he learned that James spoke Korean, it was over. He gave James a finger heart, cheers him in Korean, and told him that if he could read the dinner menu in Korean, he would give James a free meal. There is definitely not a moral to this story, but it's comforting to see how some things don't change, even when we're on a different continent. Hi vlog, Rachel's asleep. Steve just punched Ivy in the face.
Oh my god.